It's time for ACC Central, presented by Just Means Less.
I drive into right. It's enough. It's back. And it's gone for the cycle. It's a walk-off grand slam. Florida State wins it.
Hosted by Monty Taylor.
In the air, center field. Moore is under it. And on to Omaha for the Cardinals.
Micah Butel.
Fly ball driven into left field. Spin. Does he do it? He does. A walk-off homer by Ken Schmidt.
And Nick Dioli.
Gets it down. Here comes Mac. He is safe. And Boston College wins.
That's ball off the plate for 2 balls, 2 strikes. Monty just got landed on.
There are 2 pigeons roosting right above me, and my can of Pepsi
Smacked into right field. And
Welcome back, college baseball fans. I'm gonna laugh every time because I keep forgetting that I created that. So I
think my favorite part, Monty, is the fan that's yelling, "He's all over that!" And I'm just thinking about like a bird taking a poo all over you, and I'm just like, is the fan commentating about the game or about the bird that's about to poop on Monty?
Definitely talk about the game, but yeah, it does sound fitting, and it's also the other thing I got in trouble for is I kept mentioning that I was drinking a Pepsi on Georgia Tech radio, which is a no-no.
Oh yeah, no sir.
Yeah, I should have been saying a soda can or
my drink would have been just fine.
Yeah, but I kept saying specifically Pepsi. But anyway, we are here talking Louisville, the only team that made it to Omaha last season. Micah's babies, his alter Cardinal ego, the Louisville Cardinals, and boy, are they going to be fun to talk about. What was your favorite memory from last year?
Easily, my favorite memory was being down the clubhouse area at Louisville, is in that building off in the distance, kind of down the right field line. And it was after, everything had went final. Louisville had punched their ticket to Omaha, and Zion Rose is down there with the trophy, kind of just celebrating. Right. And he comes up to me and said, "I told you, you should have put us in Omaha at the beginning of the season. You didn't listen to me." And I said, "You're damn right. I was wrong." So, that was just so cool because, Zion's been so great to us, great to me. It was awesome. Just, for him to, we had a laugh about it. It was just so much fun to again, be a part of that, right? I had to pick against them, against my ETSU boys in the regionals, and then, got the chance to be there, obviously, for the last 2 games of that super with Miami. And then obviously we got to be with them until the end of their run in Omaha. That was just so much fun, man. And again, a team that, let's be very real. I mean, if you would have told me in March that this team was going to Omaha, I mean, after that Virginia Tech series at the beginning, late in March there, I would have had a lot of questions for you. But, it was just fun again. And I got to be there. I mean, I was literally there from the first pitch of Louisville season, obviously not every game, but saw the first pitch, saw the last out. So it's kind of cool to be a part of that.
Last 6 games, you're there for the first 3. Were you there for all 3 of the first?
Yep, I was there for all 3.
The walk-off against Texas to start the year. I mean, that was
the first Louisville win and the second Louisville win, the first Louisville win and the last Louisville win I saw in 2025 were walk-offs because they walked off Oregon State, to get to that semifinal with Coastal Carolina. So it was really cool.
Yeah, I mean, just a special team, with what Patrick Forbes, Tucker Biven, what they were able to do. And, speaking of that, I guess we'll bring up the key departures. They are losing some key guys, EKJ with what he did from the ACC tournament on. I mean, actually even before that, but, Matt Klein, who came back from injury and was critical down the stretch. Jake Monroe, who was one of the more underrated players in the conference, but just flat out hit. And then of course those, 4 of those pitchers there, Forbes, Biven, West, and Brennan Cutts. I mean, Camo Neighbors, had a really good College World Series as well. So, they don't lose too much of what they need in the transfer portal. Those are all guys that, may not have seen playing time necessarily. But, just some program legends moving on to the next level or graduating. Yeah.
And again, you lose, like, the one thing that was so special about that team was you had such a good core of leadership. Like Garrett Pike just had he was such a good leader. Again, obviously Eddie King Jr. was someone that rallied that clubhouse. Those are the tough ones, right? And again, like the story of how Tucker Biven continued to develop over time. Obviously, Patrick Forbes, probably the biggest production piece that left. But again, if there's one group of people and coaching staffs, I think they can figure out how to run that back, it's probably Dan McDonnell and his team.
Well, and one thing I love about what Louisville does is if you look at those number of key departures, a lot of times what we see in the modern era is replacing each of those guys one for one with a transfer guy. Louisville still loves to develop high school kids or JUCOs. And so you're going to see they don't have a ton of transfers. They got some critical ones, but I mean, in terms of it's a lot on, recruits and developing guys. And I'm really excited about that, especially when we get into the, the sophomores of the pitching, the pitching side with, one of our favorites, Jack Brown, and then a couple of his classmates. But you look at this and it's not, it's a total of 3 Division I transfers in Ben Slaker, AJ Martin, and Jake Bean. So, a lot of that, you get the JUCO ranks. I'm really excited about Jimmy Nugent, but I still love that that McDonnell is committed to, he's adapting to the transfer portal era, but he's still focusing on the high school recruit and, the JUCO impact guys.
Yeah. I mean, again, I don't wish this on Dan McDonnell, but he kind of gives me the Dabo Sweeney vibes, right? Like, this is my program, this is my culture, it's worked, and good thing for Dan, right? He's got proof of concept because he got him back to Omaha last year, and again got him to one of the last 4 standings. So, I think it's really great to kind of see that they have the ability, right, to continue to run that back. I know Jake Bean's someone I'm really excited about. I went back and watched some of his stuff at Kent State. Nasty stuff. So I think he can be a really key piece, for Louisville this season. And obviously I don't want to steal him from you because you put out a graphic not too long ago, Monty, about, Jimmy Nugent. But his stuff, watching some of his videos. Again, I never know how the JUCO stuff's going to transfer over to Power 4 baseball, but goodness gracious, that kid's good.
Yeah, I think the 2 best catchers at the JUCO range two of the 3 best. I think one is at I can't remember the Tennessee catcher. Was he a Bowling Green or was he a JUCO?
I think he was both. I think he came from Bowling Green most.
Okay,
recently.
But 2 of the best JUCOs in the country, Jake Witherspoon at Virginia and Jimmy Nugent, both coming to the ACC. I think that's huge. I'm really excited about that. And Jimmy Nugent can rake, man. But looking at the rotation options and the pitching staff, this is where maybe there's a little bit more question marks about this Louisville team. If you have question marks, they are there's a number of top 25s out right now, and they are always in the top 20. It looks like, so they are a consensus top 20 team, regardless of what concerns they may have. But if there are concerns, it might come on the pitching side, right? They're bringing back 2 of their 3 main rotation arms, right? It was Biven kind of slid in late. To kind of solidify that rotation when Peter Michael kind of faltered down the stretch a little bit, or whatever happened with Peter Michael. But Peter Michael's back, and he's very, very good. They have Ethan Eberle, who could be making a big jump as a sophomore to be the staff ace, and then Jake Bean, who you talked about. Now, I am hearing that Danilowicz and Schlageter are both going to get opportunities in the rotation, or both have an opportunity to compete for spots. So is Jack Brown. So it'll be interesting to see how that kind of settles out. But I really like Eberle, Bean, Michael, at least to start the year as your 3 rotation guys. But we know McDonnell sometimes tosses out what the rotation was like last year and starts from scratch, in the next year.
Yeah. I think I don't know why. I may have just misunderstood. I may just not be able to read. I thought Peter Michael was gone. I remember when I saw that he was back in the fall, I was really, really confused. And I mean that in the most amazing way possible because I was excited to see that he's back. Again, I've always been a big fan of him and what he is capable of doing. So
And the vibes.
yeah, right. And the vibes. So, just the ability to have him back, I think, again, kind of adds, again, someone that was also around for this last year. I mean, I think Ethan Eberle might be one of the best young arms in this conference, let alone the country. So I think that's obviously a positive. But that's the one thing I do trust with Louisville is they're going to use that opening weekend with Michigan State and even, the series in Arlington with Auburn, Michigan and Nebraska to figure this out. I mean, Dan's really smart. His staff is really smart about we got to figure this out. And not that you don't take the game seriously in February and March, but that's where you figure out what's going to win you in April, May, and hopefully June. So I think that's something you have something to look forward to. I mean, I know I'm personally going to drive through the night after I have to work on a Saturday to go watch the Auburn-Louisville game in Arlington. I've already planned my energy drink consumptions are going to be higher that Sunday, but it's one of those things where that's a team that, again, just from a pitching staff standpoint, we don't know who the three guys are going to be on Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I'm not super worried that they're not going to – I think they're going to have 4 or 5 guys that they can throw at any point. So we're betting on them to obviously have that success. But again, Jake Bean, and again, what is one thing Louisville has done really well the last few years? They've always had one freshman that's really stood out that maybe can't be that Friday, Saturday, Sunday guy just yet, but is right on the cusp of it and is going to play a key piece out of the bullpen. And Brandon Shannon kind of gives off some of that vibes. Zane Stahl. I love Zane Stahl because he's 6'7". Anyone that tall.
I love
key relievers, Monty, but it's just going to be so much fun because we know a freshman is going to step up. We don't know which one. I'm going to place my money on Brandon Shannon. I watched some of his stuff. I thought he was nasty, but again, I'm just a guy over here in Texas watching film. So I'm excited, man. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, no, it's funny. You mentioned, if there's any guessing with rotations based on last year, normally you can kind of rely on certain guys, but McDonald is different because last year I was my convinced rotation to start the year was going to be Forbes, Brennan Cutts, and Colton Hartman, and then Parker Detmers being the 4th option. Peter Michael wasn't even really in the discussion for me. And Brennan Cutts and Colton Hartman really basically weren't part of the rotation really at all. I think Hartman got some midweeks, but it's just interesting. You can never really guess what McDonald and that staff's going to do. So this is our best guess here based on what we think, but it could be ultimately different. But remember, and also with how you do midweeks, the 4th guy on this list may not necessarily be the midweek starter. He may be a key reliever because the way you prioritize midweeks. But I really like the bullpen. Jake Schweitzer. I think Ty Stark's gonna have a bounce back year. And then we talked about the sophomores. Look at that. Eberle's a sophomore. Schweitzer's a sophomore. Jack Brown's a sophomore. Kason Murphy, Jake Greger, Tage Davis is going to get more opportunities to pitch this year. That's why he's listed on here. Aaron England and Kyan Voister, who are guys that didn't really pitch last year, they're going to get opportunities. It's really exciting to see what they've got, and it's got the potential to be a very, very good bullpen. It's just a matter of how many of those sophomores are able to make that key jump.
Yeah, I'm already preparing. I have a Brendan McKay signed hat. I'm determined to have a Tage Davis version of that because the next version of Brendan McKay, obviously the Louisville legend, or for those that don't know who that is, the Shohei Ohtani of college baseball. So very, very excited to hear that they're actually using him too. I've always wondered, when you have so much success as a hitter, do you just, hey, you're only going to hit, you're going to focus on playing first? No.
Absolutely.
They're going to pull him out, which is awesome.
And it's funny, we talked about this the other day with Georgia Tech. Alex Hernandez is probably not going to pitch much because of that success at in the field. His bat's too important, but I love the commitment here to let Tage Davis get more of an opportunity to pitch. Part of that is because of the guy who they can have come and back him up, who we'll talk about in a second. But yeah, I'm really high on this pitching staff. Kason Murphy's a guy who just seems like a guy who can just go out and get outs. But it's Jack Brown's a guy that got a ton of experience last year and had some up and downs. But if you move Danilowicz back into the bullpen, you've really got a nice little back end there of Schweitzer and Danilowicz there at the end, who both had great seasons.
Yeah, I mean, again, these are some guys, and like a Jake Schweitzer, like sophomore, has a ton of incredible high leverage situation. I mean, he was huge on that Omaha run, huge in Omaha. So
yeah, he took over Bivens' spot.
Correct. Like to get that type of arm, not just back, but I mean, the freshman sophomore jump to me is always the one I think is the biggest, especially if they got a ton of time on the mound or at any position really in their freshman year. But man, again, there's just so much to be excited about. And again, like these are guys like Jake Schweitzer, it's a Louisville kid. So you've got, there's a lot of pride in this program too, that I think last year was a big reason why they went on that run, was that clubhouse was just, they were proud to be Louisville Cardinals. So I think that always plays a major role too, especially in the modern era where, I mean, guys like Jake Schweitzer were probably pretty popular. If a team's looking for a young arm, it's probably a phone call away. So it's great to see that they're all kind of coming back too.
Yeah, absolutely. And Parker Detmers is not up on here. He had Tommy John surgery later in the year. So we don't know if he's even going to come back. If he comes back, it'll probably be April, May. So he's kind of a wild card because you never know how much impact somebody can have coming back. So I didn't put Parker Detmers on here, but he is also an option later on in the season, potentially.
Yeah, I was having a conversation with someone not too long ago that's also in the college baseball world. And they're like, if you just had to pick one ACC team to win the College World Series like this year, who would you pick? And I actually picked Louisville for that reason, Monty. I said, Louisville's already good enough to get there. And if Parker Detmers can get back, we don't know if he will, but if he can get back April or even May, right, and kind of can get back to form even that quickly, I mean, that's just an extra weapon that just appears out of nowhere, for that team to make a run. So that was no spoilers there, but that was a fun little conversation. So it's funny you mentioned that. Like it's almost like a little secret weapon just hiding back there in case of emergencies.
Yep. So if you're asking me what, Louisville's success might hinge on, I'm going to say it's the success and the development of this sophomore pitching class.
Yeah. 100% agree.
There's a potential look at the potential staff: Eberle, Bean, Michael, Schlageter, maybe the midweek. Again, the midweek is so hard to project because you don't know exactly what the priority is there. Sometimes they might go with a Jack Brown. They might go with a freshman. There's some teams that love to go with a freshman on the midweek to give them experience against lesser competition. But, it's a quality group of arms that have the potential to be very, very good.
Yeah, the first 7 games is going to be so much fun to watch with how they decide to trot out that staff, because Michigan State, obviously a Power 4 school, not necessarily the world's greatest program, but not a cakewalk, right? Your midweek is Xavier, one of the best mid-majors out there. And then you're going to Arlington to face 2 really good Big Ten programs that are trying to make a tournament push, and Auburn, a top 25 team preseason. So you're gonna get challenged right off the bat. So it's gonna be fun to kind of see what this staff decides to trot out there for those first few games.
Yep. And there's our guy Peter Michael. He's in
the best jerseys in college baseball. I stand where I say what I said. I love the Astro version. Love the Louisville jerseys.
He's done some great videos interviewing his teammates. So he is on the bucket list for interviews at some point. Obviously, I found out about this after I'd already done the interview with Lucas Moore. Didn't want to necessarily double up with Louisville, but Peter Michael is on the bucket list this season. We will find a way to get him on.
He'll talk anytime you want. Trust me.
Here we go. Talking about this, we got Jimmy Nugent in there. George Baker, Colin Mowry got some valuable experience with Klein's injury last year. Tage Davis and Caden Schoenlee at first. I expect Schoenlee to be the main DH. Cade Elam, it sounds like they are really high on this kid. He could take the starting spot right away from A.J. Martin, who's a very good second baseman from Charleston Southern. Alex Alicea returns, of course. Bayram Hott didn't have a ton of playing time last year. I think I had him penciled in as the starting shortstop, not realizing Alicea was moving over. Jax Heisel is somebody who can play third base, probably going to be more of an outfield guy. And there is one of the best outfields in the country. Zion Rose, Lucas Moore, Ben Slaker with some underclass young guys behind him. This is a team that's going to be very, very good.
We are so spoiled, Monty. We're back-to-back days where we've gotten to talk about some of the best outfielders in college baseball, and they're in our wonderful conference, obviously referring to our Georgia Tech show that was yesterday. But, and the crazy part is, It's fairly young. I mean, that infield is young. I mean, Alex Alicea, the only one that we kind of project, right, to be a starter as of now as a junior. And again, like, you've still got depth. Like AJ Martin, again, the transfer from Charleston Southern. I mean, I personally think he might end up getting a start there at second. But again, that's what's so great is you've got such young talent with Cade Elam right behind him that you probably, I wouldn't be surprised if Friday you see Cade Elam and then Saturday you see AJ Martin and then Sunday. We know how Dan loves to plug and play as he sees fit. Heck, he likes to sub mid-game sometimes. So, he's a chess master when it comes to that kind of stuff. So, Monty, I kind of feel bad for you that you had to try to figure this out because I'm sure it wasn't easy.
I ended up kind of leaning towards, he's not afraid to play freshmen over established guys. I had Nate Early starting at first base last year over Tate Davis based on the numbers. I know Tate Davis had a monster fall, so I knew Tate Davis would get playing time, but I thought Nate Early would get a lot more, and ultimately Tate Davis took it over. So I was kind of leaning towards the freshman, even though AJ Martin, the stats are there. I mean, 316, 26 extra base hits. He's somebody who, walks almost as much as he strikes out. He's a base stealer, which we know Louisville loves. So that's probably the position that was the hardest for me, but I would not be surprised if Cade Elam gets the nod as a true freshman. And Caden Schoenle, it shows him right now as a backup, but he's going to be the starting DH. And when we talked about Tate Davis pitching, guess who's going to be playing first base?
Tate Davis.
So, and Ben Slanker is kind of going under the radar. That's a guy who has 32 extra base hits at Ohio last year, including 21 home runs. So you're adding 21 home runs to Tate Davis's 18, whereas Zion and Lucas and Alex Alicea, they're more singles, doubles, steal bases, run rampant. Jimmy Nugent, Tate Davis, and Ben Slanker are going to be the guys, and Caden Schoenle are going to be the guys that hit monster shots. It's just such a good lineup that can hurt you in a bunch of different ways.
Yeah, and what's great, right? Obviously listed it as the backup third baseman, but Jack Kiesel is someone that I watched a little bit of film on because I didn't know much about him. He's like perfect for what Louisville wants to do. He's very physical, he's got speed. He's very sound defensively. He can hit the ball. I mean, Monty, I think you put a note in there that he had one in the fall that was just absolutely crushed. I'm excited. Again, this is a unit that if you look at it, you're maybe not super familiar again with some of these names, again with some freshmen on here, but they've once again reloaded to where their position group is not hurting by any means.
Yeah, it's looking really good. And, we look at the potential lineup there with what I projected, but here's where it gets fun, Micah, the potential batting order.
Yeah. You
get those power guys in that 4, 5, 6 spot. And my goodness, you just let the guys run. I mean, Lucas, and now keep in mind that this is how I did my batting order. And this is basically me just coming up with something because it's really hard to predict a batting order, but this looks like a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, you've got, and again, look at the bench pieces, multiple switch hitters. That's obviously huge, just to have that ability to kind of play. I know we again, Dan's a chess master. He loves to play the matchups, so that's going to be really fun to kind of see how they utilize that. They're not super balanced, but they're pretty well balanced with righty lefty too, which is good. Right, to keep different staffs off their pace. So, I mean, this is going to be. I mean, I'm already imagining Lucas Moore, leadoff double, Alex Alicea, either a walk or a single to, to drive him in, and then Zion Rose comes up with either 2 on, 1 on, and what the power he can do. And if he can do what he does, then you have to, again, this is just, I mean, yeah. And again, it's going to play well in Omaha too. Like if they can get to Omaha, this is a lineup that, I mean, it's not just power dependent. They can put the ball into the gaps, which, as we saw in Omaha, is probably the reason why they got as far as they did.
Right. Yeah. It's more gap to gap power, but it's got the power potential at spots too. So it's very balanced. High hit tool. You've got the power, lots of doubles. And then of course the base running and just doing the little things right. It's going to be exciting because, Alicea in that 2-hole, he's somebody who's very good at the sack bunt. That's somebody who can move Lucas Moore over in a situation. and probably moving him over from second rather than first, because Lucas Morris is going to take second, right? He was 53 of 54 in steals last year, which is absolutely bonkers. I'm glad I remembered to mention that, because I know everyone knows that stat, but it's still just insanity.
Yeah.
And talk about the steals. I mean, Zion Rose, 31 steals, Alex Alisea, 34. So Jax Heisel, who you mentioned, 16 of 16 at the junior college level. AJ Martin, 12 of 16. Jimmy Nugent as a catcher, 7 of 8 at the JUCO level. I don't imagine he's going to run much, but still, it's oh man, I cannot wait to see this Louisville team just running rampant on the base paths. Yeah,
they're going to be such a fun team to watch.
All right, let's take a look at that schedule there. They have an interesting non-conference schedule. Obviously, they got Michigan State, which you talked about. You talked about those first 7 games. They're listed right there. Xavier has lost quite a bit from last year's team, but it's still Xavier, their tournament team a couple years ago. Very strong Big East team. Good test in the first midweek of the year. Surprisingly, opening up at home for the first time in a couple of years here with Michigan State. Xavier, who knows what the weather's going to be like in Kentucky at that time of year, but we'll find out. And then, of course, Arlington to visit Micah. They got Nebraska, Michigan, and Auburn. And then I highlighted the games against Kentucky, Indiana, and at Vanderbilt, as they normally do. Plus, they play all the directionals of Kentucky, Northern Kentucky, Eastern Kentucky, Western Kentucky, all the Kentuckys.
All the Kentuckys. But not Murray State.
That's true. Well.
I remember I was going through, making my bracket, Monty, and I was like, Louisville doesn't play Murray State. I guess Murray State, have fun going to that regional. You're getting sent to Louisville. But no, I mean, it's so interesting, Monty. So shout out to our guy Pair Ratings. If you don't follow him, he's awesome to follow, especially if you like analytics and statistical stuff. He put out his hardest schedules in the ACC just based off of, whatever his formula is. And Louisville had one of the easier schedules in the ACC. And if you look at it, it does kind of feel that way, right? You get Clemson at home. I mean, you get to go to going to Duke, I think is, if you're going to pick some of your road series to have, that's not a bad one to have. You get Virginia at home too. The at Miami series, obviously, that'll be our preview show tomorrow. That'll be a really interesting one, and obviously a rematch of the Supers last year, but not a super difficult non-conference schedule. I mean, let's be real, the Arlington series this year is a little bit easier of a path than it was last year, with Texas, Oklahoma State, and of course, I'm drawing a blank on who the third team was that they had to play. Because I know Clemson was there too. I'm sorry? Did
you say Arizona?
No, I did not say Arizona. So
I think Arizona beat them, didn't they? No,
they didn't play Arizona out there because Arizona was the first time they played them.
They did go 2-0 and then lose on Sunday, right?
Yeah, they beat Texas. Oh man. Anyways, they know they played Oklahoma. I think they lost to Oklahoma State, is who they lost to. But they played somebody else too. And of course, I'm drawing a blank on who. But anyways, that slate was full of actual tournament teams. I don't want to be disrespectful to Michigan and Nebraska. I had neither of them getting to my tournament. I think
Michigan may have the best pitching
Michigan
staff.
and Nebraska. I think one of those two, probably looking back on how I did my preseason bracket, I probably should have put one of them in. I don't know which one I would lean, but I mean, Auburn, the task that it is, I mean, Auburn's probably the level of Texas last year, but then I think Oklahoma State and so on and so forth. So a little bit easier of a path. Obviously, the midweeks with Kentucky. I mean, Kentucky is one of those teams that, talking to a lot of people in the SEC country, you either think are going to be really good and could potentially get back to Omaha, or they're going to miss the tournament entirely. They have such a huge floor to ceiling ratio. So that's obviously going to be tough. Obviously, the rivalry game that they play with Vanderbilt's going to be fun there in May. But I mean, I think the series that's going to scream out to me has got to be that Miami one. I mean, Louisville especially. I mean, last year they limped down the stretch in May. Remember, we thought there was a chance Louisville was going to miss because of how rough of a May they had, losing 2 of 3 at Notre Dame, losing 2 of 3 at Georgia Tech, and then they lost 2 of 3 at home against Wake. They lost their last 3 ACC weekends, and they went to the ACC tournament and got immediately eliminated. So, I think
an insane game.
Yeah, correct. So, having that Miami series, if you can find a way to win that series, at Mark Light, I mean, that's going to probably put you, if you're on the bubble, that probably puts you in. I don't know if Louisville's going to be a bubble team this year, but that's a huge one. Just looking at it from
it's
now.
funny, Micah, that we thought they might be on the bubble, but ultimately they were nowhere near the bubble.
Yeah, I know.
So
like, we just started to sweat it a little bit because again, they had such a good. I mean, they took 2 or 3 against Florida State, at the end of April. So we're like, okay, they're a lock, and then it's like that doesn't mean you have to. You stop playing baseball, guys. Like you still gotta go out there.
And I guess there is an argument because it wasn't necessarily done this way, but they could have been one of the lowest 2 seeds because they went up against the number 1 overall seed, took care of them. But that Michigan game is going to be really intriguing to me to see how Michigan, who supposedly has the Big Ten's best pitching staff, is going to be able to handle that Louisville lineup and keep them from running rampant. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch that. But those last 4 ACC series are going to be tough. You get a little bit, based on, on paper, those 4 before that look like, you got to take care of business against, Pitt, Duke, Stanford, and Cal so that you can weather the storm in those last 4, which are going to be dogfights. They do end at home against Virginia. So, that'll be interesting. But overall, I'm pretty excited for them. I might get a chance to see them that weekend at North Carolina, but it's going to be a fun series. And ultimately, what do you think? You think they're going to host a regional?
I think they're going to host a regional. I am going back to Omaha. I'm taking Zion Rose's advice 1 year late. So my bad, Zion. But I mean, again, this team is just like there's so many question marks. I mean, the sport as a whole, right, with the transfer portal and everything that it is, you just never know how things are going to mesh. There's one program, I think, in the ACC that's kind of kept a really good consistency and culture year over year for 10 plus years now, considering obviously Brian O'Connor leaving Virginia. I think Louisville is probably now that premier program in my eyes with just how long. I mean, let's be real, Monty. Dan's been there long enough. He's taken them to Omaha multiple times now. How many AC coaches can say that? Link Jarrett's never taken Florida State to Omaha. Eric Bakich never taken Clemson to Omaha. Georgia Tech hasn't been to Omaha since the early 2000s. Like we're talking about program consistently year over year. I mean, Virginia's got a whole new staff. So
North Carolina.
Yeah, despite Forbes hasn't done it as long as Dan has. That's
right. He's only been there 5 years, but he was on staff before.
Correct. No, you're right. But again, I think I'd still lean Louisville in that case, just because I mean Louisville's been to Omaha just as recently as Forbes has been to Omaha. Once with UNC.
Yep.
Dan just did it last year, and then you go back to the next, the 2015 era. Again, just betting on that future of that program and will they figure it out? I bet on them to figure it out. So I think this is going to be a team you're going to see in Omaha again. And I hope, man, obviously for our sake, we get to see them again because they're always really good to us and a lot of fun to be around. So
here's the tricky thing for me is I would love to predict every ACC team that I think is capable of going to Omaha.
No, why can't we have 8? Why can't we?
Fair enough. If we're going 8, I have Louisville in. If we're going 8 ACC teams to Omaha, but right now I have them kind of. They have a chance to go to Omaha very easily. Obviously, they have a lot of the tools. I just don't have them as one of my 3 or 4 ACC teams in there, just because there's some other teams I'm a little higher on. But this is a team that's very capable of hosting a regional and making that run, and they've got all the pieces, and I just can't wait to watch them. And obviously my opinion for my Omaha 8 will change throughout the years as it does as we actually see teams. But as of right now, I don't have them in Omaha, but they are definitely a team that has very good odds of getting to Omaha.
Yeah. I mean, again, like Omaha is always a tough one to pick, right? Because you have to be playing again. If you would have said after Louisville got eliminated by Pitt in the ACC tournament and the way that month of May went, again, I had Louisville not even advancing to the regional final in my predictions. And they ended up being the last ACC team standing. And I mean,
Final Four team.
Yeah, a different break away from who knows, like it's just if they would have beaten Oregon State game 1, I kind of think they may have gone even further. So, it's just one of those things where baseball is such a volatile sport. So again, I'm excited to get to not see them opening weekend this year, unfortunately, but weekend number 2 at least. So I'm excited to get to see them and not to hint or spoil too much, but there's a world where I might be seeing them in California in April. So that would be cool too.
I would love Louisville to host a super regional again, because it's halfway to Omaha. And then that's a spot where it makes it really easy for me, because the problem is going to Louisville. I feel like I just stay here until Omaha, because I don't want to go all the way back and then come all the way through there again. So that's where I get a little tricky.
Oh, I can't relate to that feeling at all, Monty.
You're a real sicko. All right. Nobody is like you, Micah. You need to remember that you are unique. But anyway, that's going to do it for us. We'll be back tomorrow night with the team that Louisville beat in the Supers to get to Omaha, the Miami Hurricanes. Until then, it just means less.